my God! This is real! A bombshell piece of information has just surfaced that's setting the NFL on fire, and the Philadelphia Eagles are at the center of the biggest trades of the season. Fans, take a deep breath, because what I'm about to tell you is so big, so absurd, so impactful, that it could completely change the franchise's future. The Eagles are considering a trade that no one dared to make. A trade involving one of the league's best receivers for a $140 million all-pro wide receiver. Yes, you read that right. We're talking about a possible move between the Eagles and the Vikings, something that defies all logic, but which, according to international sources, has gained momentum after weeks of tension and complaints behind the scenes. I've obtained exclusive information, details that haven't yet appeared on any portal, and you need to hear this before everyone else. But before revealing who's at the center of this bombshell and why Howie Roseman might be preparing one of the boldest decisions of his career, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell, because what's coming next will destroy the entire NFL. What if the Eagles could trade one superstar receiver for another and solve two problems at once? Analysts across the league are in a frenzy after news emerged that the Philadelphia Eagles are seriously considering a bombshell move, trading A.J. Brown for Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings, a four-time NFL All-Pro and one of the most dominant receivers of the modern era. At first glance, it seems absurd. Why get rid of one of the best receivers in American football? But within the organization, frustration is reaching its peak. A.J. Brown spent most of the 2025 season recovering from plays, catches, and his role in an offense that currently boasts a 7-2 record and is seeking a second Super Bowl title. His Twitch outbursts, his reactions during games, and what sources describe as constant internal noise have caused friction within the coaching staff and even required an unusual visit from owner Jeffrey Lurie. That alone is annoyingly strange. But the real question is, if you could replace drama with dominance, would you? That's where Justin Jefferson enters the picture. At just 26 years old, with a $140 million contract and record-breaking production, more catches in his first 5 seasons than any player in NFL history, he's one of the few winners in the world who could be considered an improvement over Brown. Meanwhile, Minnesota continues its free fall. The quarterback situation has crumbled. J.J. McCarthy seems lost. Carson Wentz has been inconsistent, and the team is 4-5, wasting the best years of a generational talent. A trade would free up nearly $24 million in salary cap space for the Vikings in 2026. In addition to giving Jefferson a real quarterback and a Super Bowl-ready roster for the Eagles, it would be a bold, controversial, and potentially significant decision for the franchise's history. And the uncertainty surrounding Brown's future only fuels speculation that this could become a reality. But this explosive trade debate takes an even bigger turn when you look at what's happening with the Philadelphia Eagles' next opponent, because the Eagles' next game has just changed drastically. While the Philadelphia Eagles prepare for one of the most anticipated matchups of the season on Sunday Night Football, the Detroit Lions suffered a major blow that completely changes the tone of this primetime duel. Star Sam Laporta, one of the NFL's most productive and versatile young players, is officially out of the game. A tough blow for the Lions' offense, which relies heavily on his reliability and explosiveness. At just 24 years old and already a Pro Bowl selection, Laporta quickly became the heart of Detroit's passing game, but a persistent back injury prevented him from practicing all week, leaving the Lions without one of their most important pieces for the matchup against the reigning Super Bowl champions. And the spiral doesn't stop there. Coach Dan Campbell confirmed that starting safety Kirby Joseph will miss his 4th consecutive game due to a knee problem, further weakening a secondary that had already been showing signs of wear and tear in recent weeks. Meanwhile, new cornerback Terrion Arnold, who suffered a concussion during last week's win over the Commanders, has not been cleared from protocol and is now awaiting evaluation by an independent neurologist. Without Arnold, without Joseph, and now without Laporta, the Detroit roster has been pushed to its limits just days before facing Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, and an Eagles aerial attack that excels at exploiting negative emotions in coverage and weaknesses in the opposing secondary. In Laporta's absence, Campbell turns to tight end Brock Wright, a player better known for his reliability than for dynamic plays. Wright is a reliable blocker, willingly contributes in key moments, and runs routes consistently, but he's not Laporta, and Detroit knows it. The difference is undeniable. While Wright fights for every yard gained, he lacks the explosiveness after the catch, the presence in the red zone, and the skills that make Laporta special for an offense built on rhythm and details. This shift forces Detroit to reshape parts of its game plan just to stay competitive. A series of injuries has not only weakened the Lions, but also significantly tilts the score in Philadelphia's favor. A matchup that once seemed like a battle of giants now becomes a test of Detroit's survival instinct. This shift could also have major consequences for the Eagles' locker room dynamics. A.J. Brown, who has spent the season openly expressing his frustration with his role and the targets he receives, suddenly finds himself with the opportunity to win over a depleted secondary. If Hurts passes the ball to Brown frequently from the start, it might ease the tension and silence the drama. But if he doesn't, and Brown feels ignored in a game where he hopes to shine, an internal storm around him could resurface. That's exactly where the story takes a sharp turn. Because while fans are focused on Brown's injuries and frustrations, a completely unexpected twist has emerged within the Eagles organization. A surprising player has been deemed the team's most valuable asset for trades in the upcoming offseason, and it's a name no one expected. While discussions about A.J. Brown's frustrations intensified and the Eagles faced a season of pressure and expectations, a surprising news story emerged, one that caught even the most astute analysts off guard. In a recent Bleacher Report analysis of the most valuable asset for trade each time in the 2025 offseason, the Philadelphia Eagles received a name no one expected: running back Tank Bigsby. The consequence was immediate confusion. With stars like Brown and Devonta Smith on the roster, how could Bigsby be at the top of the list? However, the reasoning is more complex than it seems. Bigsby, at only 24 years old and under contract until 2026, has a minimal impact on the salary cap, just over $1.4 million. He is young, productive, and inexpensive, exactly the combination that front offices desire. And when Saquon Barkley was injured early this season, Bigsby stepped in and lived up to expectations, throwing over 100 yards, totaling 8 touchdowns in 2024, and proving he can step into the starting quarterback position when needed. The Eagles didn't sign him during the preseason, as some outlets reported. They acquired him shortly before Week 2, right after he played for the Jaguars in Week 1. Since then, he has quietly become one of the most effective pieces of the offense. Even so, the idea that Bigsby is more valuable than A.J. Brown has generated debate. Brown is a superstar, one of the best wide receivers in American football, and if the Eagles were to consider offers, he would fetch a huge sum. But analysts argue that Brown's contract, his age, and the volatility surrounding his public complaints make his trade more difficult than fans realize. Bigsby, on the other hand, is inexpensive, on the rise, and expendable in a competitive group of running backs that includes rookie Will Shipley and veteran A.J. Dillon. In the world of trades, cost-effectiveness sometimes trumps star power. Still, many experts insist that this whole exercise is premature. The Eagles aren't thinking about off-season moves. They're trying to defend their Super Bowl title. With the team boasting a 7-2 record and heading into a brutal stretch of games, the focus within the organization is on winning now, not planned future trades. Bigsby's name only surfaced because national analysts plotted hypothetical scenarios, not because the Eagles were trying to trade him. With all this news, from aggressive market moves and rumors about big stars potentially arriving in Philadelphia, to strategic changes that could transform the timeline in 2025, which of these decisions do you believe would truly position the Eagles to dominate the NFC? Sticking with the current plan, acquiring a superstar via trade, or completely changing the front office strategy? Leave your opinion here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Eagles news.